Okay, the other thing that I wanted to just touch on briefly is what's happened to my job and what I'm doing in the area. One of the questions that a former graduate student, now going to be a professor at Tufts University, got into is, what would New York agriculture look like if we had a local food system? If we grew a balanced diet for all our people for 12 months of the year on the land resources that we have available right here. And we identified crops that we could grow, we identified crop rotations that would protect the soil, and we started identifying how many people could you feed. And the interesting thing about that study was that we could look at Buffalo, we could look at Rochester, we could look at Syracuse, we could look at Albany, we could look at Dryden, we could look at Groton, all the population centers in the state, and all those centers could feed themselves a balanced diet 12 months a year for their entire population with things we grow right now, with land and agriculture right now. The whole system fell apart when we put in New York City. And the databases that we are using are from the U.S. Census Bureau Service. There is no New York City there. It's the New York Newark Population Center. I forget what the population is, something over 20 million people, and a continuous city from somewhere in New Jersey to somewhere in Connecticut and up the Hudson Valley. And they're not surrounded, well, I shouldn't say that. New Jersey has some pretty good land. But by and large, it's not really great agricultural land for supporting that size of. How in the world are you going to feed New York City? How are you going to feed Tokyo or Mexico City? There are several major cities in the world that have come to such population size right now that the concept of local food is ridiculous. They are dependent on a food transport system probably from quite a distance away. I'm talking about local food in all the other cities. The average distance for Buffalo, what was it, 30 miles from the city center. You could feed 1 million people. That's a pretty amazing study. Ask the question, well, really, how many people can you feed with the agricultural land that we've got in New York State? And I forget what the number is, maybe about 1/3 of our population, something like that. Maybe a half of it, depends how you do it.